Hello guys, what is going on? Welcome back for a new video, this time 8 weeks out for a leg day posterior chain focused. So I'm putting you the posing at the end because, well, I'm quite proud of the shape I had 2 months prior to the show, and as you can see, well, doing leg day is not an excuse to not show them, because some people apparently are afraid to show them after, and it is quite strange in my opinion, since this is one of the most rewarding sessions to do. So I started out with RDL with a barbell, one of my top best exercise, bread and butter for the posterior chain as a whole, and I'm showing you the ramping up between several sets of warm-up, just to let you see that each set, each setup, each beginning is exactly the same. You see me racking the barbell with a shrug, 1-2 step behind, go down, go up, tit-beating on my toes, shrugging, putting it up again into the rack. This is extremely key, guys, because this is how you create a ritual to really force through. Now, there is something extremely weird that happened to me, and you're welcome to tell me what happened, in the comments. This was supposed to be my top set. I don't know what happened, because the plates are right. I'm letting you see there. I'm checking out. The plates were right. The weight was right. I was right in the middle, and I have no idea why, but the weight felt totally offset to the left. It was really pulling me extra hard on the left side, and I felt like I was twisting. So I don't know, guys. As you can see, I'm quite confused. This was to be my top set. This obviously ruined it, and yeah. So you're welcome to give me any kind of opinion or any kind of reason this may have happened. Well, of course, I'm not going to stop there and I come back at it. But yeah, it was quite disturbing. Never happened to me before. Maybe it's the fatigue, I don't know, but everything fired up quite easily during warm-up and in a bilateral manner, so yeah. This was to be a set of about 5 to 8 reps, kind of a top set, and I just managed 4 for obvious reason. I was totally out of sync, I was fixed out. Yeah, I avenged myself, kinda, on a second set that I'm technically not supposed to do with 200 kilograms. I just do 2 sets, 1 top set, 1 back off, for recovery reason, also because RDL is extremely hard on the body. It's not an exercise you necessarily need to do with very high volume, except if you have a specific goal. As I am preparing for a show and I'm doing bodybuilding, I don't need to do a shit ton of volume on RDL. It's better to cycle through with many other exercises for a variety of stimulus. This is the supposedly second, but in that type of scenario, this was a third set. This is 4 plates, 180 kilogram for 5 pounds, and my goal is just to repeat out. So obviously I'm much more tired right now, but it is what it is sometimes, like the game, not the player. Your goal when you're doing a training session is always to do the best you can, and sometimes the best you can is definitely not the absolute best you can do. So yeah, I ended up doing 7 reps. I'm supposed to do 8 to 10, but at the same time, I had much more volume onto the first set. So yeah, after that, I go to shrugs. I know I just said it was a lower body day. I said it was a posterior chain day. So why am I doing shrugs? Well, I want to do shrugs for my traps, for my yoke. Where do you want me to put them except right there? So yeah, really, it's lower body day, but it's more like almost like a density day, if you remember what Jordan Peters described them. Basically a day where you're going to fry your back, you're going to have meat slabs, back there. And as you can see, I'm going quite heavy. I mean, the OG subscribers know I'm extremely strong on shrugs. If you are quite new, maybe you didn't know, but, if I have so many fake 90 allegations, it's because I have huge traps, and I have huge traps thanks to a few key exercises such as shrugs. And I go up to 8.5 plate, I think, for this session, 360 kilogram, so like 800 pounds, something like that, more possibly, or almost 800 pounds. I'm showing you here a little tip that I have. Liquid chalk, if you have trouble with your grips, even with the straps because you're sweaty or the gym is so hot. So yeah, it's really nice. You're not disturbing anyone. You're not putting chalk everywhere around. So you also save time for the cleaning team. You are not yourself going to need a broomstick to clean up after yourself. So, it's a win-win for everyone. And you just have to shake your hand, to make it dry out with the air, and then it's going to be ready. It's something extremely nice because in some gym chalk is forbidden, but with that you may bypass the interdiction, and there you have it. I just shook my hand a little while, it's almost ready. Now it's good. If there is a little dust, now it's good. So now we're going into the real sets of shrugs. I am doing clusters or high set, low reps. My goal is to do 6 sets of 3 to 5 reps. Since I'm cutting right now, there is a possibility I'm only going to do 5 sets. It depends on the day, but this was early into the prep still. I was starting to slowly but surely feel the effect of the caloric deficit, but definitely not that impacted. I was at a beach body, lean body weight at the time, so no problem. And as you can see about the form, I know some of you might be surprised. It is a shrug, guys. Okay, and there is almost 400 kilograms, and I've done 400 kilograms, by the way. I'm not going to be extra clean. The goal is to really yank hard the bar and really stretch hard the traps, for the science-based stretch-mediated hypertrophy. Since I do lots of sets and low reps, and I'm definitely not that close to failure, I'm going to have very low rest. And this low rest is a minute or so. And I'm right now, I'm not cutting the camera, I'm not cutting the video, so that you can see the real rest period I have. I do the set, I stretch my back because it can really tighten quite hard the QL and the lumbar spine. I make sure the weights are in place in order because they can slide a little bit. Then I focus again, I put my belt on, I visualize the sets, the next set, extremely key. I'm into the zone, I'm focused, something that I do not see much more into the gym right now. There are not many guys that are focused onto the training. They are not taking it seriously. This is something extremely key and yet so underrated. And then I will put my straps, and then I have the music blasting into my ears. And let's go for the other sets right there. So really, I think it was like 50 seconds of rest and back to back like that, 6 sets. And that's it. That's the secret, guys, for huge traps. Ultra heavy shrugs, a lot of sets, lots of stretch, and that's about it. One of the intensification technique I love for my shrugs, and also to really squeeze in as much work I can for the upper back, which is literally an amalgam of many big and strong muscle, is drop set. Usually drop set is not something I recommend for multiple reasons. First, it's not really required if you do your sets correctly for smaller muscle. Second, most of the time the stabilization aspect and the form breakdown aspect will come quite fast. So it's better for most people to just rest pose. Okay, I think rest pose is a superior technique, intensification technique, rather than drop set. However, for exercise, specific exercise such as shrugs, for example, or leg press, I think there is an argument with drop set and maybe some plate loaded machine. So, as you see, I was at 8.5 plates. These are plates that are 25 kilograms. That's why, there is 8 plates, but actually there is heavier weight. And I do a set, I remove 1 plate, I do a set again, then I remove 1 plate, and again, and again, and again. And I will do, pretty sure that I will do 5 intra-set like that. So there will be the first set, 1, 2, 3, 4. Possibly 5, yeah. Pretty sure there will be 5. So yeah, that is how I can easily add volume to the traps. And when you're doing shrugs, of course, the upper traps is the main prime mover of the exercise, but the rest of the traps is also working because the traps is also a stabilizer of the shoulder blade, the scapulae region, and onto the arm. So really, it's not like maybe a full trap exercise. You're definitely eating harder your upper traps rather than your low trap, but still, the whole traps is going to work. And the erectors, are going to maintain somewhat of a thoracic extension for the posture to avoid letting your spine collapse forward. And there is still some hip muscle involvement, to stabilize everything. The first time I ever did that, guys, I also had soreness into my calves because remember, the calf is supporting all this weight for all this time and attention. So I'm not actively, squeezing them, but still, it is work and it is good work. Afterward, so I did one posterior chain exercise. I did one upper back / kind of posterior chain exercise as well. If we account the erectors into the posterior chain, I go on to my first exercise for the quads, and that is a bell squat. I have a quite nice bell squat, which is Hammer brand, Hammer Strength, and I really like it for multiple reasons. First one is quite obvious. There is not much low back stress compared to barbell squat, for example, or any squat where you are actively squishing your spine. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that the trajectory, the pathway of a resistance is not a straight line. It is not rectilinear. It is what we call convergent. So it is way less stressful on the knees, on the ankle, and on the hip. And it also allows you to actually use more your hip muscle onto your squat rather than, except if you want, of course, just relying solely onto your quads. By the way, there is a gym bro who was helping me with, putting plate on. I'm slowly but surely warming up. And in between sets, I wanted to show you one of the best exercises I ever did to rehab my knee post-surgery and also rehab my knees post-tendinitis, and that is the tibial raises. You're basically using your body weight as a resistance and you are raising your toes against your hip that are placed onto a wall, and you're raising yourself basically with the front of your calves. And that is extremely key, both for strengthening your calves, having some muscle definition from the front, but also to bulletproof your knee, rehabbing any kind of tendinitis you could have, also at the ankle, and strengthening that whole chain, that whole anterior chain that so many people forgot. And in between all of that, so that will be a 3-set, I'm doing my calves on the bell squat. I'm trying to keep pretty upright with a slight flex at the knee for comfort purposes. Once again, pose at the top and at the bottom to make sure there is no bouncing at the Achilles tendon. And there you have it. The bell squat machine is, of course, for squat, but, sky is the limit when you have innovation and a big brain, and you can use them for several things. So here is the second set I do, for my warm-up. Gym buddy thought I wanted some help to put plates on. And regarding the placement, we'll talk about that later on. Right now, I'm going to show you something extremely key that many of you may not have the ego yet, or the lack of thereof, to use, and that is sleeves, okay? I have had one knee surgery. I've had 4 or 5 knee tendinitis. I'm done with row squatting, row leg pressing, and whatever. I'm 30, guys, so I'm still quite young. My knees have been beaten up by weightlifting, by running, by all the combat sport I did prior. So I'm not going to take any chances. These are simple knee sleeves, not like triple pio by whatever. They're not helping me gain a full plate of strength, but they are making sure my knees feels good, stay warm, and I have maybe a slight bouncing effect at the bottom if I really go 80G, but that's about it, really. It's really more for my comfort, and the difference in terms of recovery speed for the knees is staggering, so I can really trash hard my quads, and my knees the next day are going to be tightened, but not trashed, which is nice. So here is my first working set. There will be just 2 sets again. This is 5 plate. I'm putting the anchor at the second hole, as you can see. My goal is to be as much quad-centric as possible, but I still want some room to use a bit my hip muscle and not literally do a hack squat with a weight in between my legs, because it's just too stressful on my knees, and I am still doing a posterior chain day, remember. So if I can sneak in a bit of glutes and adductor, for me, it's good. Literally, I'm chaining everything. I know some of you might be surprised, the work capacity, the fatigue, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, fuck you guys. The harder you work and the smarter you are, the better. So I'm just chaining. If you're doing squat and you cannot keep going with calves, which is literally an isolation exercise, you have a problem, not me. So this is basically the same weight, and I'm just, training as much as possible. And yeah, that's about it. Some of you might be surprised why this hole and not another one, maybe not the one closer. So that would be like more so the real weight, or even further away like I used to last year. That's because of the pathway. I'm trying to use the machine better, so I'm trying to align myself better with the resistance. And for me, doing squat like that, it's a bell squat obviously, but it almost feels like an SSB squat. I have a great deal of quads, not much slow like a front squat or hack squat, still have some posterior chain, but it's not like a back squat. Back squat for me could be almost pure glutes and low back if I wanted to. So yeah, and yet again, no low back stress, which is extremely key here because I trashed it with RDL, and on my other leg day, I'm doing more quads and glutes focus, but there will be heavy back extension. So I'm trying to cycle through the spine loading, which was heavy there, and the spine fatigue, which again was heavy there, and again the calves. Some of you might be surprised by the form and the fact I'm not doing like 30 reps, but I'm just accommodating to the weight and what I feel. Unfortunately, I've had also tendinitis at the Achilles tendon, peritendinitis as it's called. It's really not funny. So I prefer to listen to my body and maybe look goofy and have big calves and pain-free ankle rather than doing something else. I'm not done yet though with the calves. I will keep going, but this time I will bend over more and I will do donkey calf raise on the bell squat. And much lighter weight, much cleaner form, I presume, for all of you guys. And I just prefer them that way. And there is much more stretch, That's why it was a favorite of golden era athletes to build their calves. There is much more stretch. It's basically like an incline curl, but for your calves. So it feels extremely good. You have a great pump. Plus I'm wearing sleeves, so the pump is even more amplified. And I'm going to superset that with some razor curl. So some of you are familiar with Nordic hamstring curl. Razor curl is a variation where you're trying to solely keeping the same torso angle, and I'm just flexing at the knee. My goal is to use my body weight on the eccentric, just control, and then I'm just flexing my knee and my hand are just there to avoid having me headbutting the floor, but I do not need them really. Still, this is like, again, a prep. I have literally zero margin for any kind of mistake or little injuries, so I'm not going to take any risk, and I'm going to use this little bump with my hand to just help into that weak position. Afterward, I will do another superset. This time I will do standing leg curl on this hammer strength machine, which is almost like a lying leg curl. There is this hip flexion that is extremely nice, and you can go quite heavy at it, and I really like it, But still an isolation work, so I'm careful. One of the things I like to do with hamstring isolation is to really slow down the eccentric. I'm trying to count to 2 or 3. Here it's mostly 2, even sometimes not even. But that way I'm soaking in the impact of the weight with my biceps femoris, which is what we are trying to work. And I'm not letting the calf steal the work, because the soleus can steal the work on slight knee flexion exercise such as this. And I superset that with reverse Nordics. So it's basically a Nordic, but for your quads. You're doing a body weight leg extension, and the resistance curve is extremely hard at the bottom and easy at the top. So it's even like the reverse of a leg extension. I really like this exercise because not only did it build me solid VMO and also help with my mobility at the hip, especially with the rectus femoris and the hip flexors, it also, I don't know how, but it pulled stuff, inside my knee capsule joint, and it felt amazing doing my rehab of the knee surgery. And even today, I don't know, it feels like it's pulling some stuff inside and it feels great. And that's about it for this workout. Afterward, I stretch, but nobody cares about that, right? And there is a little posing for you again. I'm quite satisfied with that shape. For some of you might be wondering, I'm 174 centimeter. At the time, I was 83 kilogram, about 8% body fat. Not Texas scan tested, but I'm basically the same body fat as last year, just a little tad bigger. So that's how I know. Okay. If you like this kind of video, like, subscribe, and I'll see you soon for the next one. Bye-bye.